I'm Em,
And I'm Lex.
and we're thrilled to welcome you to the Ready, Set, Coach podcast.
Now, we're not just your hosts. We're also mamas, entrepreneurs, coaches, friends, and co-founders of the Ready, Set, Coach community.
What began as a pandemic side hustle has blossomed into a vibrant online community crafted by coaches for coaches.
So when we're not immersed in our coaching community on Circle, we're busy managing our other businesses, navigating the ups and downs of life, and of course, recording this podcast.
This is where we dive deep into epic conversations about life, business, coaching,
and everything in between.
So are you ready, Lex?
I'm set, Em.
Let's coach.
Hello, everyone. Today you are with Lexie, which I never know if people are like, damn it, or yay, or indifferent, but I'm so excited to welcome today's guest. So Teresa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here.
So let's dive straight into giving us a little bit of your elevator pitch. Who are you? Where do you live? What do you do? What's your social security? Give us all the things.
All right. So I am a life and performance coach for mom entrepreneurs. And basically, I just help them reject the do it all culture because we can't do it all, but we can do a lot of great things and the most important things with excellence. And I try to help moms do that every single day. And I had to really struggle with this. So I bring in my experience, my personal growth that I went through just to give them strategies and help them understand that they could be amazing at what they do. And I just help them refine that. I am a mom of two and I live in Southern California. I have been married to my husband for now 19 years.
Wow.
And the unique thing about kind of my journey is that I actually run our business, or my husband and I run our business together. And we actually left our 9 to 5s to do this full time. So that's really kind of like this unique challenge and also unique like superpower that we have that we can actually do this together. And we also bring that knowledge and that experience to our clients.
Okay, so we need to dive into, I have so many questions. Let's go a little bit more into the journey. What were you and your husband doing in corporate, and what prompted you guys to want to leave and go in this direction or pursue this venture together?
Yeah, so it has been quite a journey. And there have been many pivots along the way, but I started off with, and I mean, obviously I started off doing many different things as far as a career, but my last career was in sustainability, specifically for UCLA Health. And I was developing and managing their sustainability program. And at the time, my husband was working full time as a law enforcement officer for LAPD.
Oh, wow.
So we were working for like really big organizations and, awesome careers. But it got to a point after our kids were born that we started to think about our vision differently. It's like our lives completely changed once we had children. And it didn't happen, right when they were born, right? It was kind of like it evolved after that because we thought to ourselves, do we want this life that we have right now? It was chaotic, it was unpredictable, and yes, we were doing really great in our careers, but was that the most important thing? It wasn't. And we came to the realization that we didn't want to live the way that we were living, and we didn't want to miss out on a lot of the things that we were missing out with our children because we were so busy. We were in that do it all culture. And it was very detrimental to our own health. And that's kind of where the pivot began when we started to focus on ourselves. And we actually really dove into nutrition, we dove into fitness, and it changed our mindset as well because we thought, well, if we can do this and other people are actually asking us how we did all this, maybe we can actually create a business out of it. So it actually first started off as a health and wellness business, and it evolved into more of this life and performance coaching, where we found that the mindset was the most important thing. It's like we had to really dig into what drives people to do things, what really creates change, long lasting change in people's lives. And it's not really like the tactics and, the meal plans and what have you. It's the person that you become. It's like, who do you want to become in order to achieve your goals or to become that person that you want to be? So that's kind of how our journey began. And eventually it got to the point where I was able to leave my full-time job, and it wasn't this perfect time. I really want to emphasize that because sometimes we hear these stories where we're like, well, it was like all the stars were aligned and we were making so much money that I just like left my job because it was so comfortable. But it wasn't the case. It was like we took a leap of faith. I left a six-figure career in order to be home and to build our business. But we had this vision. We had this vision of both being home. And eventually, my husband was able to leave his full time job about a year and a half ago. And, it's been this crazy roller coaster, but here we are.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I can't. So my husband and I are both business owners very differently. He has a fifth generation family owned manufacturing company
Mm.
that's
Yeah.
very well established, but I was very lucky that when I decided to do my transition, he was in full support. And it's an interesting perspective, his
Hmm.
stage of business versus mine, but we laugh sometimes and we talk about where I go, what if I just came and worked for you? And we both
Hmm.
look at each other. We know it would never work in a million years. There's no freaking way. So we don't have that combined working superpower. We work great as parents and as partners,
Hmm.
but I just have a whole nother layer and level of respect for couples who can do a career together. So just like all the kudos for you. And while I could very selfishly take this episode in that direction and turn this into a couples counseling for Lexie, which the through line of this season truly has become like each of these episodes have become some sort of therapy that I've needed. So for those who are tuning into every episode, you guys are getting all the laundry. But here is where I want to go because you are an expert at so many different things. And I was perusing your website and going, what would be nice to supplement with the rest of the lineup of the season and highlight what you do best and like obviously selfishly what I want to know too. And I
Hmm.
stumbled upon a blog post you did called Mastering Your Monthly Planning Routine. And this has come up quite a bit across the verticals of my businesses from coaching to my agency. And I'd love to dive into how does one even begin to grapple with the concept of routine in business? I think sometimes maybe it feels little bit more achievable in life in regards to like, okay, I'm going to work out in Wednesdays. But if you have a career that's busy and there's a lot of factors at play and you're a mom on top of that. I don't even know
Hmm.
where to start with this topic basically is where
Hmm.
I'm at. So you help me. Where do we start here?
Yeah. So basically, you want to talk about like how do you plan around your business or how do you plan for business task, business challenges, um, in such like a wide sense. Is that what I'm
Yeah, I mean,
hearing?
just even that title, right? Mastering your monthly planning routine. I think we could
Mhm.
go a lot of different routes here, but I guess let's start with what does that even mean? Like, what does mastering your monthly routine mean to you?
Yeah, and it really goes down to like what is a routine, right? Because I think that everyone's routine is different, and it's really about focusing on what is most important to you and like what makes you tick, like what makes you like thrive, right? So it's really understanding like what is it that I want to accomplish, let's say in this month, right? What is going on right now in my life that can actually derail me? But then what is it that I want to accomplish? Because sometimes I think that we focus on, well, this is what I want. But then we don't realize that we also have this thing called life, and things happen and we have challenges. And it's not to go down like a negative rabbit hole, but it's really about understanding that, like, yes, this is life and it's filled with challenges. But that doesn't mean that we can't achieve what we want to achieve. We just have to understand that, you know what, if this happens, then this is what I'm going to do. So it's really about first laying down the groundwork of what it is that you want to achieve. What's the main goal and what's the main theme? And I think that we need to focus on just one thing, because a lot of times we want to get so many things done, especially like in, 30 days, right? We're like, oh, well, we can get so many things done, but we don't understand that sometimes we can get off track with all of the things we have going on. So focusing on one thing that you want to accomplish is first and foremost. And then you reverse engineer from that. What are the things that I'm going to need to do in order to accomplish those things? And then just start breaking them down. I usually think about this in terms of goals as a whole, but I can also use this in my planning, in my monthly planning. So I take my one thing, the one thing that I want to accomplish, and break it up into progress milestones. And then within those progress milestones, then I start to develop like the daily tasks. So I created a planner specifically for mom entrepreneurs who not only want to, plan out their day as far as their life, but also like what can they focus on with their business? Like what are those high impact activities that they need to do every single day? So the way that I break it down is what are some of those progress milestones that you need? So let's say, for example, you want to, you know, achieve the 10,000, income revenue milestone for a month. Let's say that that's your big goal, right? And then you want to break it down. What is it that you need to do in order to get to that point? Well, one thing is you need to find clients, right? So that's one big milestone is finding clients. Let's say it's 5 clients that you need. And then another milestone would be like setting up like the proper workflow that you need in order to not only take care of these clients, but to find these clients. And then maybe another progress milestone is setting up your social media or setting up that thing that is actually attracting those clients. And see what I mean? It's like breaking down into
Yep.
smaller, more manageable pieces. So that's kind of like how I see, like, as far as monthly planning, is just getting to that big thing and breaking it down as much as possible. So that way, each and every day, we're actually working towards that thing.
Hey everyone, Lex here.
And M.
And if you haven't heard, we did something pretty darn cool.
We sure did. We launched a completely free community built specifically for coaches.
Say it again for the people in the back.
We launched a free community for coaches. Tell them quickly who it's for and what we're doing inside, Lex.
Sure thing. So it's for anyone from the coaching curious to side hustlers to coaches ready to scale. And through the virtual platform that we've built, we've created a safe and fun space to learn, launch, grow, connect, ideate, collaborate, vent, and evolve together.
Nailed it, Lex. Now, while it's free, you must apply in order to gain a free membership. So we can make sure everyone inside is awesome, like us.
Apply today at readysetcoachcommunity.com. Okay, so I'm gonna throw a challenge at you, and
Okay.
we're gonna put on your coaching chops, but I think you're going to be up for the task. And I agree that so much of this is mindset. So you're probably going to hear me as I present this and be like, oh, there's so many things we need to fix, Lexie. But here's what comes up for me.
Okay.
When life is lifing, and life's been lifing hard lately.
Mhm.
And I related a little bit to a season in my daughter's life when we considered getting a sleep trainer
Mhm.
because she wasn't sleeping through the night. And the objection I had on that call is one I'm finding now, that our life is so, like, we aren't home for a month, like 30 days. We travel so much. We have my husband's out of town, so I'm the only parent. Then I'm out of town, so he's the only parent. Then we're out of town. We miss Wednesday and Thursday, so then we have to stack calls. And there's almost no consistency. And if I
Mhm.
even look at, the next month, I am gone every single weekend and multiple days of a week, including work trips. So I
Mhm.
sit down and I try to think about how the heck do I even begin to create a routine for my business, create a routine for myself when life is not giving me a structure that is allowing me to. Now, is this all in my head? Like, how do I work around that?
Mhm. No, it's not all in your head. I mean, when you see the big picture, like, okay, there's so much going on, and how can you plan for inconsistency, right? But I think when I think about planning, I don't think about perfection because I understand that it's not going to go as planned. But the simple task of just planning things out is much more helpful than not having a plan at all and just kind of throwing up your hands, right? So if my clients come up to me and tell me, okay, listen, I need to have some structure, I need to have a routine, but it seems impossible to do that because either kids get sick or I'm traveling or I'm
Yep.
doing this and that. And for one thing is that as a coach, I have to understand that my routine is not necessarily going to work for somebody else's routine. So me just telling you, hey, this is what you need to do, like simple, right? But that's not the case. And that's the beauty of coaching is that it can be personalized based off of the season that you're in or, your life, right? So it's really about asking questions and getting to the root of why you're finding yourself in this situation consistently, right? So, like, my question to you is first off, like, what is the most important thing for you to do in your business?
Serve my clients, serve them, fulfill my contracts.
And how do you serve your clients?
A lot of different ways. Coaching feels a lot more straightforward, that business. The agency is a lot more, there's less, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the day to day is a little bit not as clear. Like coaching, so coaching, maybe it's I have a call every other week and these are the things they can expect. And they have a 24-hour turnaround time where the dynamic nature of my PR agency is there is some structure and they're always going to get a monthly report, but you have to ebb and flow with days and trends and etc. So my main goal is making sure that I'm showing up for my clients. That seems to be in this season the primary thing, and that kind of crushes everything else. It crushes, any potential thought of new business. It crushes, thinking, is this really want? Because I'm consistently in this I need to deliver mode.
Yes, yes. So, because you want to be there for your clients and serve them the way that they expect you to serve them, right? It's really about figuring out like what is it that you can do and what is it that someone else can do. So, we can't do everything, right? So, it's about finding and I always think about like these different principles. One of like these principles that I always latch onto because it's something that has really changed my life is focusing on that 20%. That 20% of activities that produce 80% of your results. Because a lot of the clients that come to me have a problem with time. Time management is a big issue. And of course, it's like it makes sense because we have so much going on and because there's different seasons and sometimes we're really busy and sometimes it's like it's an off season. So it fluctuates, but there's always like this theme of a lack of time. And sometimes I find that there is a lack of focus and priorities because we think that we have to do all of the different things that allow us to provide the service to our clients. But that's not always the case. You have a genius, Lexie. Like you have this thing that only you can do. And then the rest of the things that we do are normally things that other people can take care of, right? So my next question to you would be, if we had kind of like a coaching session, would be like, what is that 20% for you?
What is that 20% that I can, I can do, or that I can delegate? Sorry.
Yes. So that 20% is basically the things that are your priority and the things that only you could do, but
Mm,
also the things that would actually move the needle forward or maybe be a domino. So it would be that domino that would actually let the other dominoes fall.
I think that's a really powerful question that I need to think on. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a really powerful question to kind of pause. And for those of you listening, to take a moment instead of like waiting to hear what I'm going to say,
Mm-hmm.
reflect that question back to the audience. If you're feeling like you're relating to, where I'm sitting in any capacity, it doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
exactly the same, but if you're in a state of overwhelm or uh, time management issues are coming up, or there's you're relating to this in some way, can you pause right now and think about what is that 20% for you? And you know what, I could not agree more that questions, especially for coaches, are some of the most powerful things or tools that we have. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're not even that complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a question we know, and it's a question that's been posed time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the theme of time management, I'd love to know, for those coaches who are listening, either for them to put in their tool belt or
Mm-hmm.
for them to ask themselves, because I think we all need a little bit of what we are teaching as well. Are
Yes.
there any powerful questions, other questions when it comes to time management that you'd like to offer our listeners?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of different like prompts that I've been able to really focus on to help me when I'm really struggling. So sometimes we'll like go on day to day, and I'm gonna be completely honest. Today was like one of those days where it was just like back to back meetings. The kids needed to get ready for school, and I knew that I had other things on the docket, and sometimes it gets to a point where you just feel so overwhelmed that you can't even think straight, right? There's this lack of clarity, and you sometimes just have to stop and just breathe, right? But for me, like one of the most important questions to ask myself when I'm having those moments, or when it's like it's not really kind of like this urgent moment, it's just like one of those like themes of the season where it's like really busy. It's like, what is the most important thing that I need to do right now? Like what is that thing that I need to focus on? Because I can only focus on that thing and then let the rest of the stuff be, right? So for me, it depends on what's going on. But like for me, like let's say today, it was like I just have to be calm. I have to be calm because I can't be my best self and I can't show up to these awesome podcasts or I can't show up for my clients if I'm not in the right headspace. So normally like a question like that is like, what is important to me right this moment? And then when I answer that question, there's usually follow-up questions that it leads to. But I think that it's just a way for us to kind of like snap out of this fight or flight sometimes that we are in,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because there's constant motion, and sometimes we don't give ourselves the space and the ability to just like breathe and just be calm. And I actually did have to do a meditation like for 10 minutes just to make sure that like my mind was going crazy, then my body was following. So when we do that, when we give ourselves breathing space, then we allow ourselves to just kind of like release things and then get more focused on like what the task is at hand.
Yeah. I think it's a really, really powerful reminder. And I think we can default to say, I don't have time to do that. But the reality is, if you don't put your own oxygen mask on, you don't fill your own cup, then
Yeah,
everything else on your list is going to be affected accordingly. So I think it's
exactly.
a beautiful reminder, especially for those moms out there. I mean, it's transferable if you aren't, but for moms who are used to prioritizing these little living, breathing creatures we
Hmm.
birthed, right?
Yeah.
It's extra hard to want to focus on ourselves.
And
Now,
one thing like I'll add on to that is something that I have found with myself, but also with my clients, is that there's this guilt that starts to creep in when we start to think about focusing on us. It's not
mhm,
selfish to focus on us. It's actually something that will not only help us, but it'll help everybody else around us. Like when I'm
yeah,
moody, when I'm snappy, when I lack clarity, I am not my best self. And
yeah,
sometimes all it takes, and it really depends on the person, but for me, sometimes all it takes is just like me stopping what I'm doing and just like centering myself. Because I know that what follows, like that energy that you have when when you feel like you're just like your world is chaotic, is not the energy that I want to bring to my kids. It's not the
yeah.
energy I want to bring to, the people that I serve. So don't feel guilty. And it's really easy to say that, like, don't feel guilty, right? But it's a process. It's like you have to keep reminding yourself that you you need to take care of yourself. Like you said, like you need to put that oxygen mask on because there comes a point where it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be just, oh, hey, let me just like stop for 10 minutes and do a meditation. It can be to a point where you just can't anymore. It's like, so before it gets to that point, like give yourself, add it to your routine. Just
Yeah.
5 minutes, 10 minutes, and that's all it takes to actually make improvements.
Normally we give a parting homework at the end of the show, but I think, guys, there's been homework throughout this entire episode and reflective moment. So I want to offer back to go back or read the transcript, whatever you guys feel inclined to do, and sit down with the questions, sit down with the points, find time for you today to think on these things. Like consider it, if you need to be someone who's assigned like or ordered to do something, you are ordered to do this, guys, because it's to our own all of our own benefit and
Yeah.
everyone else around us. So I want to ask this, if people want to experience more of your brilliance, learn about how to work with you, where should they go? Where should they connect?
So I hang out on Instagram. So you can find me there, Teresa Hildebrand _coaching. Sorry, it's super long, but that's where you can find me. That's kind of where I hang out. But if you want to actually also check out like the work that my husband and I do, um, we have a YouTube channel called Modern Leadership. And you can find us there. We do workshops and we talk about all things entrepreneurship and just being able to create harmony within your life.
Beautiful. Okay, and we'll put those in the show notes. The last thing that you have to do, you are obligated to do, required to do by coming on the show today is sing the awkward outro with me. And it is just that awkward. So when I say go, we're gonna sing out Ready Set Coach podcast, and I'm not
Okay.
even gonna give you time to think about it. So you guys, thank you for joining us on the
Ready,
Ready,
set,
Set,
coach,
Coach
podcast.
podcast. I have blackmail on everyone from that. Yay,
My
thank you.
gosh. Bye.
If you're enjoying the Ready Set Coach podcast, please leave a review wherever you are listening. For more information about Ready Set Coach, visit readysetcoachprogram.com.